Today we're going to be doing a comparable review of the Dewalt JOBSITE saw and the Ridgid JOBSITE saw. Number one thing I want to throw out right now, because this might make or break it for some of you before we even get started. The Ridgid saw can cut through a 4x4 in a single pass. It has a 3.5 inch depth cut, where the Dewalt only has 3 1/8. So anytime you're sliding a 4x4 through, you got to flip it and cut it on the other side. That's pretty much the only difference in their capacities and things like that they can do. The bevels are all the same, RPM is virtually identical, etc. The real difference is in the way they're built. So let's start right off with how they transport. With the Ridgid saw, our handles are down here and we have a pedal that releases the lock, and we just lift up on it, folds right up, wheels away. The Dewalt saw, flip it down on its stand, and then pretty simple, 4 legs fold up, and then you can wheel this around. This saw I have owned for years. That's the one I just bought to replace it. And it wasn't a matter of not liking this, it was also a matter of that was what was available at the time for the best price. But now that I do have it, you're going to see my opinion on it. As far as quickness, I really like the Ridgid. As far as durability though, the Dewalt overall package feels a lot more durable and heavier duty. Now looking at the saws themselves. So the Dewalt seems to have a lot more moving parts. Our fence unlocks with 2 knobs, one at the front and back to take the fence off. And you see it hooks right here. To then move the whole table side to side is this turn knob. And this is why I'm replacing this. This stripped out because it's plastic on metal. So that feature wore out. Now I have to unlock the table and muscle it where I want it to go. That's the other issue with the way this slides. So the fence extension slides in this channel, and you can hear how rough and rigid it is. And again, this is years old, but so dirt, debris, sawdust, all that collects down here, and you're constantly cleaning out this track. And then you also have to clean out the gears under here that it's sliding on. So that gets to be a pain, and that's what I believe led to finally stripping out that knob, all the resistance. Table angle, you just flip this knob, and you can adjust the table, the blade angle. And I like that that's just a simple turn. I've never had any issues with it. To raise or lower the blade, you just crank the handle. And there is no lock, it just stays in its position. As far as tool storage, the fence stays on here. I really like the way the push stick is right here, easily accessible, just slides right in there. So I really like that our blade wrenches are right here, easily accessible. And then right here is also the storage for the miter gauge. Very easy, accessible area to put that as well. And then you'll see our riving knife storage is back here. So with the Dewalt on its side now, where I can show you how this table extension works, you have this turn knob here, which again is plastic turning a metal gear, and it's all on this gear drive. You have a gear at the front and at the back with a geared run on each front and back. So here's the rear gear and track. And so this whole thing here is the weak point in this saw and has always been my one complaint. Even when the saw was brand new, it wasn't near as smooth as what the Ridgid is, and I'm going to show you why now. So the Ridgid table extension, we just unlock the table, unlock the fence, and it slides. So the tape is on one big roll, and so it's not actually moving, it just rolls out to match where we're at with the table extension. But the reason this is so smooth is this right here. Part of the fence being so smooth, you can hear how quietly that glides. And that's because we have these white nylon bushings that are sliding on the outside of this aluminum rail. It's not a track like what the Dewalt had. And so you could even sit there and take a little WD-40 and wipe this off every so often to keep this sliding smooth. And so again, the design differences in the table extensions is probably one of the main key design differences that make the Ridgid better, in my opinion. And that again is after years of using the Dewalt setup. As far as blade height goes, you have a turn knob here that you have to spin counterclockwise to unlock it, and then you can raise or lower your blade, and then you have to tighten it back down. As far as blade angle, we just unlock that lever and we can turn, well, it actually has a little wheel here you can use to turn that to whatever angle you need, and just lock that back down. So it seems to be a little more simplistic in the controls, not as many moving parts, not as many plastic gears, made it up to metal gears that are now stripping out on my Dewalt saw after years of use. Okay, now looking at tool storage on the Ridgid. Our push stick is located here. Not bad, and it locks in there good. It's just gonna be something for me to get used to rather than up on the side here with my Dewalt. And then our miter gauge is on the side here, and that just locks in there. My only concern here is you'll see these are just plastic pieces that I feel over time are gonna get worn out, and then this isn't gonna stay in there very well. But time will tell on that. Coming over the other side of the saw, we have a wing nut we have to undo to get to our blade wrenches. And then we have our kickback assembly here that locks in here. Again, this is all being locked in with just plastic pieces that squeeze it together. So I think over time, this may wear out, and these things aren't going to be held on here very well. So now to store the fence on the back of the saw, there's these two rubber pieces. We just fold those up. We can put our fence in there and then pull these down over it. So that's a good way to lock the fence in when it's not in use. But honestly, I always left mine right on the saw, even in transport, never had any issues with it. It was never in the way, it never got knocked around. One thing I almost forgot to point out, blade guard. On the Dewalt, we have an aluminum guard. Just goes in there, turn of a knob, it's locked in. On the Ridgid saw, same thing, quarter turn knob, comes right off. But this is plastic. So again, time will tell how well this holds up. So there's my take on the Dewalt and the Ridgid JOBSITE saws. Now, which one do I like better? I honestly can't say. I've had this a lot of years, very durable. I love the way it transports. I am looking forward to the cut capacity on the Ridgid being 3.5 inches, where I can now rip 4x4s uninterrupted. Tool storage wise, I like the Dewalt. Overall package, I like the Dewalt. The Ridgid does have slightly better reviews, but both of these saws have 4.5 out of 5 stars from close to 3,000 reviews, so it is truly heads to head. And I do believe the Dewalt's a little bit more expensive. But again, two great saws. You saw the differences right here, so hopefully that'll help you make a decision. If you like this video, please hit it with a like or subscribe to the channel, and check out my reviews playlist on my YouTube channel. A lot of other tool reviews and always more coming. As always, I really appreciate your support. Thank you for watching.